In the spirit of Halloween, I'm going to be redesigning Halloween candy packaging. So I did a lot of research on what candy I should pick, and I ultimately came to the Milky Way bar. And I know that's not the Skittles, the Kit Kat, or the Hershey of Halloween candy, but I think it has the most potential for a cool rebrand. So this video is split into 6 different parts, first of which is going to be inspiration and mood boarding. The second is logo design. The third is color palette. The fourth will be typeface and type design. The fifth is packaging and layout design. And the sixth and last will be mock-up. So I'm aiming for 15 minutes for each section. However, I think that I might adjust and add or subtract time from each segment, still keeping it under 2 hours total. If I was doing this more seriously, I would be spending way more time on market research, consumer analysis, brand strategy. My approach to this is just experimenting with it and having fun. Just wanted to make that note. Okay, so the first thing I did was look through my Pinterest, and I added a lot of Japanese candy like Pocky and Choco Baby and all those ones that you see in Asian grocery stores. I also put in some space-related graphics that I thought were cute. One thing that I thought was an interesting fact, the Milky Way bar and its history is that there's actually 2 versions that are sold. One is sold in the US that looks like the standard brown and green, and the other one is the more galactic looking version, which is sold globally. It's funny because I think the son of the Milky Way bar creator went on to make the Mars bar because that was their surname. I just think it's funny because the coincidence of the galactic space theme, I mean, makes sense. So that's kind of why I wanted to expand upon that. Also, they sell these things called magic stars, and they basically are these chocolate stars, but the packaging looks like the finished dishwashing detergent, and I think that just throws me off a lot. Not really vibing with that, but I like the concept of this magic stars. I just think the design missed the mark on that one. Part 2, this is my logo exploration, which means typeface exploration. So I am putting out a bunch of rows of text. I like to do one that's all caps, one that is I don't know what the word for that is. One that is and here I am just picking through the most bold fonts. I kind of wanted something that is a little bit rounded on the edges of the letters, not necessarily harsh corners, but I obviously wanted to experiment with everything that I had in my toolkit. And then I went on to Adobe Fonts, where I get most of my fonts initially. If I can't find anything and I want a specific one, I go on the internet and search for one. Usually this is where I end up, and I found a couple good ones here. Okay, so I ended up using Urbane Rounded, and that is an Adobe font. I used the all uppercase version. My concept idea was to do like a ring, perhaps around the way or the Milky, like the Saturn ring, but I don't know if that ended up working out well, so I think I ditched that. Next is color palette. So for my color palette, I wanted the background to be dark brown or dark gray, so that the space elements could stand out, and then I wanted something very colorful to accent. And this is a really ugly rainbow selection, but it gets better, and I picked a better range of rainbow colors. Later on, you will see. Okay, so this part is illustration exploration. So I know I wanted a planet on the left side of the packaging, and obviously Saturn is the coolest one with the rings. So I was drawing my own little Saturn character here. And here's more exploration with font. I warped a lot of the font using the envelope distort tool. I decided to change the background to brown because I think it symbolized chocolate a little bit easier and give you that impression when you first see the packaging. Here I'm working and struggling with the shape builder tool, which is great for making objects from just shapes and then creating objects with either different parts that stick out or overlap, and you can subtract or add different parts of the shape. For some reason I was having trouble with this. I eventually fixed it with a pen tool, so all is good. I used the pucker and bloat tool on Illustrator to make those little sparkle graphics. And here I'm playing it with the stroke and the fill and adjusting it, basically like seeing what looks good and trying the different typefaces. I decided to go with a much better rainbow color palette, so here I am working with a yellow, blue, green, and orange, and I made a gradient so that could fit into the stroke of the Milky Way text. And then I also played with whether I wanted the planet to be gradient rainbow as well, or whether I liked it as green. And I ultimately decided the rainbow looks cooler and a bit more eye-catching, so that's why I went with the rainbow instead of the green. Here I have added some extra copy, so I put in the #1 candy in the galaxy, added the bar at the bottom. That is what the original packaging actually has. Here I'm using a pretty high resolution photo. Thank God I was able to find this on the internet. I cropped out the candy bar in the back using the select subject tool on Photoshop. And I knew I wanted to add what the actual candy looks like on the bar because I feel like that's a really important part of package design, is showing what the actual food looks like. Finally, the last part, I was mocking up 2 different packaging designs, and they're very similar, just the layout is a little different. And yeah, this is basically it. This is my finished product. Took me much longer than I expected, but I'm very happy with how it turned out, and it was a really fun challenge to do. This is the design I ended up with. I actually have 2 versions because I couldn't pick between the 2. They're very similar, they're just very minute differences in layout, but I like both of them, and I think that it still has a bit of the original brand integrity within the design. I wanted to keep the green and brown as the base color palette. I added a lot more different embellishments and a little Saturn planet character, and I got a lot of my inspiration from Japanese or Asian candy because it's very colorful and they often have a mascot. That was my main source of inspiration. Clearly, I don't know if this would perform well in American markets, but I do know that Japanese candy is superior in packaging and in taste, so really can't go wrong there. I actually ended up spending like 5 hours on this design, which I know I said I would do max 2, but I'm a perfectionist and I could not keep it under 2 hours. I just wasn't happy with where it was at 2 hours, so I just kept working at it, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Unfortunately, I'm not to the point where I can design something that I'm satisfied with within 2 hours. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a long one and didn't go the exact way I planned, but I learned a lot about what parts of the design I spend a lot of time on, and in the future, hopefully it will be a much shorter redesign process. But I will see you guys in the next video, and thanks for watching.